Left Alive tries to be many things: a stealth game, a military thriller, a third-person shooter, and an urban survival adventure. It fails on every level, including at performing acceptably on a PC above the recommended specs. When the Metal Gear pastiche falls apart, what's left is technical shortcomings, wonky controls, poor balance, and so much frustration it wasn't worth suffering all the way to the end after dozens of hours wasted on it. The story is the only part of Left Alive that's remotely decent, but even that is mediocre when compared to prior games in the Front Mission universe. After the least surprising surprise attack ever, you're dropped into the combat boots of 3 different Resistance fighters, all of whom would be easy to empathize with were they not so poorly written and voice acted.
How are we supposed to keep fighting?
The main quest mostly consists of wading through an absolute sea of hostile forces to reach an area where they'll inexplicably stop attacking you. The side missions feature interesting stories, but it's hard to do many of them because the rewards are skimpy and resources are scarce enough that going off the main path can empty your bag of tricks. Stealth is the main idea here, and it's a mess. Enemy AI is inconsistent and unintelligent, which makes planning your approach a crapshoot, and a lot of failures feel unfair. The levels themselves appear open, but often funnel you in certain directions instead of encouraging different and creative approaches. When you're forced into action, it's even worse. You're almost always underarmed and ill-equipped, which would be fine if combat weren't sometimes mandatory and the enemies weren't capable of absorbing more bullets and explosives than seem reasonable. When you run out, taking on a platoon with a trenching shovel is about as much fun as it sounds. What's more, enemies are incredible marksmen, rarely missing a moving target. As for our heroes, they're wildly inaccurate. Combat is just too frequently a laughable, broken mismatch, which sucks because death can set you back 10 minutes or more due to sparse checkpoint saves. Since Left Alive is set in the Front Mission universe, sometimes you'll encounter a formidable Wanzer, and if they get a beat on you in the open, you're all but guaranteed a pretty spectacular death. They're not interesting to fight since they mostly serve as walls preventing you from going that way. But every so often you get to pilot one, and while the controls for the absurdly overpowered yet inaccurate weapons are clumsy, it's a satisfying turning of the tables to stomp around and unleash hell on the enemy. Most of the time though, your destructive tools are the Molotov cocktails and exploding cans you craft from supplies you pick up off the street. These gadgets run the gamut from hurlable explosives to mines and traps to medical items, and using them to control the battlefield and thin the enemy herd is absolutely essential to survival. The crafting menu is easy enough to use, but it doesn't pause the action, so it's best accessed in places of cover and complete safety. It's easy to make a mistake while dive rolling in the heat of a firefight or simply not find the right gadget at all in time to make use of it. Plenty of games manage to make being hard endearing, but Left Alive's difficulty is due to bad controls, subpar combat, and inconsistent stealth instead of the tough but fair challenges you see in games like Metal Gear Solid or Hitman. The tedious trial and error process of getting through each chapter becomes a grind exacerbated by setbacks that feel arbitrary or unfair. This is compounded by the technical issues, which include nasty frame rate drops and stutters when there's a lot of action on screen. After 24 hours played and the end still far away, it was time to call it quits. Left Alive falls flat in every way that it attempts to stand out. Its story of surviving a technologically advanced invasion has some interesting ideas, but is delivered with limp dialogue and voice acting from annoying characters. Worse, every concept introduced to its gameplay, stealth, action, crafting, and Wanzer combat, comes awash with uneven execution that make it feel difficult for all the wrong reasons. Left Alive is probably best left unplayed. For some better stealthy action, check out our reviews of the Assassin's Creed Odyssey DLC, Resident Evil 2, and Hitman 2. And for everything else, stick with IGN.